Good to go. There we go. There we go. Well, everybody, what's happening? I'm Jermaine Worley.
Michaela Worley.
And these are the James family, Vontae and Christina. We're excited to have them on our live podcast today, the Chosen to Love podcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in, joining, and so let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
So, how did you guys meet? Like, how did this whole thing start?
Love connection. We are high school sweethearts.
Okay.
We met in high school. He was the only boy in our sixth period dance class.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't think he knew that. He was brought on by a different thing. But he one day, I think it had to be like literally a month or two into school, and he blew a kiss to me in the dance mirrors. And which is just so extra. But I spent all class asking him, what did that mean? What did that mean? What did that mean? And he would not answer at all. He wanted the chase for sure. wanted me to chase him.
Got you.
And then so yeah, fast forward the end of class, end of day, I finally get to him and I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, I like you, and will you go out with me? And walks me to my locker. We kissed and then we head off, and that was the start.
Wait, hold on, y'all just kissed.
We just kissed that day.
That's what I was about to say. Hold on. So we just kissing, Christina?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're out here just seeing our romantic loved one and just going for it. Yep.
Yeah, here lifting.
What you got to say about that, Vontae?
Kind of the same thing. I mean, I had to play it cool a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Had to make her chase me.
Play hard to get.
Right. You can't just give it all up. You know what I'm saying? In the first couple seconds of meeting somebody. So, yeah. She definitely was antagonizing me the whole period about why I did it. And I just had to keep pushing her off until the end of class.
Interesting. So what would y'all say is the biggest lesson that you learned from being high school sweethearts? Like from that phase in y'all life, what would you say you guys learned?
Go for it.
I think I learned a lot about myself due to just getting to know, because obviously you guys know, like being in a relationship with someone, like you get very intimate and you start to realize certain things that you didn't really know before, and just throughout the whole process of us dating and then now being married, just a constant figuring out who you are, how you can better the relationship, and try to push each other forward and to be our best.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, for me, I think in high school, dating him, the biggest lesson that I learned is you've got to be a risk taker. He is like no holds bar. He will just go for something. And in high school, I was like calculated risk. Like we need to know the pros and cons of everything. But in dating him in high school, I learned like, no, you've just got to go for some stuff, and there's no planning for it.
Perfect balance.
Yeah, exactly.
So wait, how long y'all been together now?
15.
15 years.
15 years we've known each other. We dated off and on. Let's be realistic. High school is no one's consistent in high school.
13 of those years.
Yeah.
Been dating.
13 years y'all been dating, huh?
Yeah. 2 years off.
Dang. So in those 13 years, what would you say, or like, what makes your relationship unique from any other relationship?
Dang. So one thing that we've realized over the course of our 13, 15 years is at some point in our lifetime, we've lived around each other. So like when we were very young, my grandmother's house was in a certain part of Sacramento. He also lived in that area. And then when we moved and started doing daycare in a different area in our city, he also lived in that area. So we've always been around each other and we didn't know it. And I think that's really coincidental or God ordained, I don't know. But that's super unique. And then to meet in high school, how we met in high school too, is it's interesting.
I just want to say my counselor tricked me. She said it was the actual dance class. I did not know it was going to be all women in there. Totally off guard.
So you wasn't there doing ballet?
No, I don't think we did.
We didn't do ballet, but we did do like interpretive dance and stuff, those types of dances.
And I was like, oh, you said this was hip hop. I don't know why
I'm here.
I'm here. This is interpretive dance. But no, yeah, like we moved around a lot when I was younger, and happens to go to be jogging around like, oh, I lived over here, and she's like, oh, I lived right here, and I'm like, cool. Didn't know you. I mean, I never seen her until high school, so we didn't hang in the same crowds.
No. So I think it's unique that we've been around each other practically our whole lives, but didn't know it until high school, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's super cute. That's super cute.
So speaking of high school sweethearts, I know you said that there were some breakups in there,
Absolutely.
right? So I got a debate question.
Oh, gosh. Oh no.
So my debate question is, who do you think handles breakups better, men or women?
I'm gonna hear this. all at
Man,
once.
I think the facts are women.
no way.
Yes,
No,
100%.
that's only because you're female.
Like, I'm biased, but it's the truth and it's fact. Women, I think, go into breakups ready to process it, which allows us to deal with it better.
Mm.
Men or guys, you go into a breakup trying to cover it and cope with all crazy stuff. So I think women handle it by far.
I don't know, cause I be hearing this hot girl summer, this and that. Is that not the same coping or what's up?
Hold on. 'Cause
I
it's City Boys too. It's City Boys too.
I've heard
I
it.
don't
So
know.
don't come for
That's not me. That's not me.
don't come for women.
Yeah.
I'm just
And I-
saying, I think us men handle it a little better, you know.
Yeah.
We do our processing and then we're like, all right, now it's time to move on to the next.
It's
That's
the last
true.
for me.
Yeah.
I think so
I would
too.
say, listen to this, y'all. I would say females in the beginning, we go through it.
Yeah.
We like that.
There's
It just
tears.
didn't work out. I love him. Why he have to do me
And
like
ice cream.
that? And then we cool. Once we done,
We're done.
so, once we done with that, we done. And then the dude in the beginning, they like, hey, I'm single again, hey. And then next thing you know, baby, I want you back. Jermaine used to be like, God said we should be together.
Oh my goodness.
Last night, God came into my dream. We ended the wrong way. Meanwhile, I'm already doing me.
Yeah.
Peace out. So yeah, I would have to agree with Christina.
Yeah.
Of course, I won't be.
You know,
It's the facts.
That's not.
Facts.
Jermaine, help a brother out
I
here.
don't know, man.
Don't you give me that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I'm just a questioner.
No,
That's my
no.
role.
We need some answers from Jermaine.
I don't know. Okay, so I do feel like men might handle it better. A mature man, let's be clear. A mature man might handle it better because he would understand that like that person does not like make me or break me. Like I'm great with or without them, but when two great people come together, greatness happens. But even if I'm not with you, I'm still great. So a mature man would have that approach.
Yes.
I wasn't a mature man.
Not in high school.
Not in high school, so I'm
or
looking.
college.
Yeah, or yeah,
Oh,
you're
well,
right.
there goes that.
Towards the end of college. Towards the end of college.
Towards the end.
Towards the end, you know.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
But yeah, I know. I agree with you, babe. I think
Don't you be.
I do. I agree. Yeah, women might handle it better. I'm sorry.
I
brother.
ain't thinking
I'm
that.
sorry, brother. I'm sorry, brother.
I
It's
quit.
okay, Monte.
We gonna win later. We gonna win later. We gonna win later.
We'll see.
So the average age of marriage is 30 years old,
Wow.
right? So why is it that you guys got married young? And by young, what age did y'all get married at?
25 and 26.
Okay.
She was 25 and I was 26.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's considered young, 4 years young, right? Or 4 years early.
Yeah.
Why did y'all like? What aspirations did y'all have? Like, why did y'all get married young?
You know, I think we had spent already so much time, like half of our lives at that point
Mhm.
had been spent together. And I think we knew where each other wanted to go and we were signing up for that.
Yeah.
And I think he definitely wanted to get married younger than he wanted to get married in high school,
Oh wow.
which is
She told me
absurd.
that like 15 times.
I told him no 15 times.
15.
Like it's
15, bro.
crazy.
So you had the ring already?
Propose.
No,
Oh.
no, it was the thought.
He asked.
okay.
I didn't
Hold
seriously
on.
propose.
Yeah, he
She
did
told me no.
seriously ask, but it was no. But I think when we got to be 25, 26, you're a little more like ready to start something and begin anew and take that risk with someone else.
Yeah.
And I think we had peace about that.
Okay.
I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm trying to think of how to word this, 'cause I know it makes sense to me in my head. It was more of, I got to, well, for me, I'm speaking on my perspective. I got to a point to where, I'm gonna just say I appreciated other people who were beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want anything from them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And once I got to that point, I was like, okay, I think this is the one. And then we really seriously started talking about it. Side note, she did ask me when I was going to propose. I told her a year before I actually did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
all right.
I was like, oh, it'll be next year at this time. And I already had the ring, but she didn't know.
Oh, so you held it for a year, huh?
No. Well, it wasn't a year.
Yeah,
it was a year.
Damn, you was ready.
I told her I was going to propose like 2 years from when we first talked about it.
Yeah.
And what did that look like, Christina, the proposal?
Oh my gosh.
Don't get too much into detail.
No,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to get emotional because it was legit a surprise. And when I say it's hard to surprise me because I'm a planner. So he and our friends, shout out to our friends, did a honestly beautiful job of keeping it so hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
But it was my favorite holiday is New Year's.
Okay.
And he proposed on New Year's Eve
It
with our
was
friends.
technically New Year's. That's midnight.
Yeah. And it was like I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue what was going to happen. We all looked amazing because we were at a friend's house for a party, and he did good. I'm gonna give it up for Mr. James. Had me crying, had other people crying. There was a lot of tears because I think a lot of people were waiting for this.
Yeah.
Our families, our siblings, our friends. So
I'm like 5 people at the party.
yeah, so it was impressive.
Oblivious. And it was like, what, 30 of us there?
Yeah, and he got down on a knee and did a whole. You honestly don't remember what they say, you guys, which is really sad because you should, but you don't remember what they say. But someone recorded it, so I can hear it now. But I didn't know what he said. But it was the ring, and it was the one that we had picked or like had gone somewhere, and I was like, this one's really pretty. And yeah, it's beautiful. I love my ring. But he did a great job, and I was crying.
She told the guy, she's like, oh, that's beautiful. And I was like, hey, write that down. I'll be back later.
And I didn't know.
I went back like the next day. I had to work in it already, so I like paid for it and then had it at the house. And then she started getting close to it. So then I had to move it to a different location.
Transport this very expensive piece of jewelry to our friend's house, which is where the proposal happened.
So thank y'all for sharing.
Yeah.
I want to take this time to give a shout out to our guest Isaiah Williams.
Oh.
He has a question that he wants us to answer, and that question is with the divorce rate being so high nowadays, what do y'all attribute this to, and what advice would you give others and yourself to avoid it?
That is a very intense statistic. I think, well, we have to talk about our faith because I think that's a huge component of why we can even combat divorce or keep it away. So us believing in Jesus Christ is huge because Jesus Christ died for our sins, and that's all we do in a marriage, right? Your marriage is your ministry, and your marriage is how you show your obedience to God, part of it anyways. And so I think we keep divorce away by one, open communication and sacrificing. Like, you're gonna have to let go of stuff. So I think a huge part of it is the divorce rate is so high because no one wants to let go of stuff, and not like material things, but just like their own pride, their own interest, their own fill in the blank, their own baggage for the other person. And because we believe in Jesus Christ, we know that's part of it anyways. But like just the Jesus Christ lifestyle. But in a marriage, you're for sure doing this all the time for all things, from financial things to like dishes in the sink.
True.
Just put the dishes in the dishwasher, Christina. You don't have to talk to me about it. Just put it in the dishwasher. So there you go. That's how you keep divorce at bay, Isaiah Williams.
I would say a reason why divorce is really high is because, from what I know, it's mostly regards on money.
Yeah, finances.
the-
Yeah, for sure.
Finance is a huge component on why divorce rate is so high.
Hmm.
And I know for us that was kind of something we had to figure out going up.
Us too.
Coming
Us
together.
too. Us too.
Because it's how you value money, right?
Yeah.
One person has it out here, and the other person's like, well, I really don't care.
Yeah.
And then it creates that tension,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
And then in us marriages, that tension is enough for them to be like, all right, I'm done,
That's true.
you know. But us learning how each other works, through marriage, it's like, okay, well, we can talk about this and come to some kind of agreement, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And figure some little middle ground, which takes time.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of quotes you can hear that, marriage takes time. It's definitely growth. It's something that you can't prepare for
Yeah.
as much as, the planner will like to,
Yeah.
prepare for everything.
How many books can I read?
I was like, you can read all the books you want, and you can try to plan your whole life out, and we all know it takes turns, right? So
Exactly.
the kind of, something else that I've learned through being married to Christina is that I definitely have to be more willing to open up about certain things, and
That's good.
so that growth comes because we're like, okay, well, let's talk about this. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to talk about it, but I know you do, so let me try to ask questions. And
That's a gem.
I'm getting there. Like, I haven't been doing that our relationship, but I'm
Yeah.
slowly starting to.
Progressing.
That's big.
Yeah.
Man. Progress. That's what it's all about.
But-
What you got, babe? What you want to say? What's your response?
I agree with the people before me.
You want me to go?
I will go. So for me, I would say I would have to agree with Christina for sure as far as long as God is truly the center, which for us that was a really big deal
Mhm.
for us. And we talked about that even with our premarital counseling. Shout out Pastor Jay. But that was really huge for us, and I feel like without the relationship with God, and a part of our relationship, I don't think either we would have made it as far as we did, or I don't think we would make it further than where we are.
Yeah.
For the simple fact, when there's something that we go through, or when there's something that we're challenged by, that's God remains the same. So that's who we have to kind of lean on, to rely on in those tough times. And so God, for sure, number one, for us in our relationship, and also we talked about this earlier, patience.
Mhm.
Definitely, because we realize I come from a different background, he comes from a different background. So especially once you move in together and you just see each other's like different living styles, different habits, like different things you picked up from parents or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, from both ends.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, you know, but marriage is sacrifice, marriage is compromise, reciprocity. And so once you have all those kind of tied in, and communication,
Yes.
as well. Yes, communication, open communication. And that was hard for me too. I was more so like Vontae. Like, I was more so like, I don't want to talk right now. Like,
And then
I'll
we'll never talk.
later. And then
Yeah.
we'll never talk. And then
Yeah.
we'll just brush it under the rug and then something else we'll
Yeah.
talk about. Yeah. So I had to learn that as well. And my babe did a great job of, equipping his wife. And yeah, now I feel like our lines of communication in all aspects is definitely a little better. For sure.
Yeah.
What's your take?
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said. The only piece I would add is humility. I think that by us being Christians and us having our own walk with Jesus,
Yeah.
like we learn to have the fruits of the Spirit from the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And I think that humility was definitely one of the biggest things because in our relationships, right, the James family and the Worleys, we are all young and married, right? And so what that means is that we literally watched each other grow up from, young boys, young women to actually adults, right? Having real responsibilities. And I think having that humility piece, understanding like, look, like we're only, 29 and 28, whatever, 30, 31. And so we still have so much more to learn. So having that humility piece, I think is big. And I feel like that's what helped us, get through all the adversity and, everything that we went through.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, hope that answered your question, Zay. Appreciate that. If you got another one, let us know. And we'll be sure to answer that one. So moving on to the next one though, for y'all. What is, and this I guess this kind of ties in with the last question. What do you guys think is what's something that you guys went through and how did you overcome
Man, I mean, like you said, when you know someone since high school
it?
to now,
Mm-hmm.
and you fought for your love, there's so many battles that you can recall. I am gonna leave high school battles where they are because we've learned a lot from them. But our adult battle that was like really tough was I'm sure everyone does, but when we first started dating as adults, I was upfront with Monte about like what my non-negotiables are. And people say like, okay, like you shouldn't have any of those. You should have negotiables or non-negotiables. But one of mine was smoking. I have like a real hard time with with smoking. Like we drink, not like a lot, but smoking for some reason I was just like I can't do smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them that when we first started dating as adults, and I was like, hey, like if you are trying to be with me for long time stuff, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be frank with him because I know him, I know his family, I know his upbringing, I know that's like a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so me telling him that was me being one very vulnerable, but also just like being like, hey, like I have this boundary. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we start. He's like, yeah, that's fine. I can let that go. And in my heart, I believed that when we first started dating. So we are now engaged. We are now married, and smoking has entered our lives
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
in a really kind of like hard, shady way, honestly, because he didn't come out and tell me that he was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was like little pieces of evidence, which again, people, when you feel something's wrong, follow your gut. Something's usually often wrong.
Yeah.
So I kept feeling it. I was like giving it to God, praying about it, but like little things started popping up. And so I just confronted him and I was like, hey, like, are you smoking? And he said no.
Mm-hmm.
So he lied a couple of times about this until one time I found a box of cigarettes in his stuff from work. And so he was smoking at work because like when you're married, you're around each other like all the time. So it wasn't happening at home, but it's happening at work. And honestly, like it crushed me. I was devastated to the point where I was like, you need to leave or I need to leave.
Yeah,
So I stayed at a friend's house for a couple of days essentially because I was like, I just can't deal with it. And it's like, yes, it's the smoking, but the lying's the bigger problem, right? That's really what killed me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a tough part in our adult life that like I would say put us back a couple of what I felt like a couple of trust years, right?
Yeah.
Because once trust is broken, it's like trust is broken, y'all.
Yeah, you gotta, yeah.
It takes a lot to build it back. So how we overcame that though was like we just said, honest, open communication. When something's bothering you with your significant other, you need to talk about it. As hard as it is, you just really need to have a sit down, get it out, however long it takes, and then talk with your partner about like how that made you feel, because that's what I had to do. I couldn't be like, this is a non-negotiable. Like, yes, he knows that, but he had to hear like how it hurt me,
Yes.
and
Good.
how it's impacting us, and how it's also impacting our goals because we wanted a family too. But it's just like, how do you build a family on lies? Like that's not fun. So we overcame it by honest communication, and also like it's not just talking about it. You got to put feet to what you're talking about. So he got into accountability with someone at our church who also had to quit smoking or like had that struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that helped a lot. But Buddha, you can talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like she said, like this is something I was doing my whole life. Like, at first it was smoking weed all the time, and even when she met me in high school, like I don't even know if there was a time when I wasn't high in high school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like I just did it all the time, and that was just normal for me.
Yeah.
Even up until we started dating, and it was something I didn't stop doing. Like I was telling myself, like, all right, bro, I'm gonna just stop.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna give this up, and I just like, kept telling myself, and but I was like, oh, I'm gonna just still do it. Whatever it's, I'm gonna stop eventually. but yeah, it did have to take that step. I wouldn't say it was like addiction, but it was just something that I was like, I
Was
was
it
doing
coping?
it for so long
Yeah.
to like cope with life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just kept going. I was like, well, I need this to get through this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any healthy way to break through some of those like walls that I had up and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
That's big. That's big.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So my next question, and we already talked about it. So my next question is obviously, we are all Black African American chocolate,
Proud.
right? And so with that being said, why is it that you chose to marry somebody from your own race, African American chocolate, Black? Why?
Black power. No, I always knew I was going to marry a Black man. Just 100%. Always knew it. I knew this because I saw it in my grandparents. I grew up with all 4 grandparents in my life, which is a huge blessing that I know not a lot of people get a chance to do. But I got to see 2 healthy Black marriages thrive.
Mhm.
Like being at their 60-year reunions was like awe-inspiring. So
Yeah.
I always knew I was going to marry a Black man. I think the reason for that is there's a strength that comes with a Black couple. There's just like this formidable force. Like you can take on anything.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was just I knew that was going to be who I married. And I think other races are beautiful, and not that they're not attractive, but I knew I would tie myself with someone who was my race,
Yeah.
because of the power that it felt. Like the power I felt around my grandparents was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is huge.
Yeah.
for me, it was not the same. My main focus was to allow myself to find who I was meant to marry.
Mm.
So I've dated, like people from different races, ethnic backgrounds, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, because I'm like, I didn't want to. My thinking was, I don't want to say no to all these things and miss out on potentially the person I'm supposed to be with. So
Yeah.
my thinking at a young age was like, well, I'm just going to date whoever interested in me. We'll figure it out on the way. And if I'm meant to be with them, then fine. If not, then I'll just move on
Yeah.
and go to the next one. But I am going to say, shut up, don't lie. Shut up.
It's my
Let's move on to the
favorite
next,
phrase. Now move on to the next one. It's just always the next one, everyone.
Next
That's
one.
not, there's no next one in marriage. No.
Not in marriage, but when I wasn't
dating.
married, there was always the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may not be tomorrow, it may be like a year from now, but there was always the next one when you're single.
Yeah.
But that was my mindset. I always loved our people and our how can I say our strength to get through things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to limit myself, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna
Open. Yeah.
open, just figure it out. But God blessed me with a beautiful Black woman who challenges me.
Mhm.
She's a little crazy. She already knows why I keep telling her that.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah, but so yeah, I was definitely different. I didn't want to minimize myself. So.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So why is it that or do you want to answer that before we move on?
Really sensitive.
Yeah.
For me, y'all know I'm team Black love all the way.
That's the
baby.
name of this episode, Black
Hey,
Love,
y'all
right?
see this chocolate man right here? Y'all see him? Yeah. No, for me, I just knew for me, me personally, I'm speaking for me. No other race I feel like can just love on me, handle me, just the way a
Handle
Black
her. You
man.
heard what she said.
The way that a Black man could,
Oh my
no one
gosh.
was going to be able to see me truly for me in all of my Blackness.
Yeah.
As a Black man, I
Yeah.
just feel like, it's some fine white men out there. There is, however, or other races out there. However, I just knew, like deep down inside, that I wanted a different type of love. And I knew growing up that it was rare to see that, especially within young
True.
couples, like
Yeah.
black men wanting black women and black women, well, black women always want black men. It's the black men wanting
I
black
know we
women.
gotta work.
That's
on
another
that.
conversation. we
yeah,
gotta
That's a
have
whole
another
other
time.
conversation for another
Next
day.
episode.
But yeah, just knowing how rare it was for me was also just like, oh yeah, I'm really gonna push for it now, and I love that I did because I love my black man with my black baby.
That's true. Germany,
Um,
baby.
oh,
And
She's
yeah, I
adorable.
would say that for me was like a huge thing for sure. What about you?
Man, I could talk about this for days. man.
Tell us.
What you got to say about me?
But man, my babe, as she say, right? Man, I just knew, like, I came from the struggle, and I'm sure that I think everybody here could relate to that. Maybe not Christina, because she was
Yeah, I
rich.
know. I was middle class always, and so it's really hard to.
But I think that I definitely, I don't know, like, I heard the statistic that black women are the least married group of women in the world. And me hearing that, I took that personal, because I'm like, why is it that us as men, me being a black man, why is it that we don't see our queens as more valuable than other? Whereas every other race, Asian, Hispanic, American, they date in their own culture. Yeah, yes, they date interracially, but for the most part, especially Asians, they date in their own culture. And I think personally that might be why their divorce rate is so low as opposed to other races. So I said that I wanted to be the one to raise a black family, to be the example that, as earlier we talked about, that we didn't see. And I knew that Michaela just being as beautiful. First, the beauty.
Yeah.
Let me just highlight that. The beauty, easier. Anyway, the beauty, right? From there, I was just like, man. So that's a checkbox, right? And then the personality, specifically the authenticity. Like, she didn't mind keeping it real and being honest. And I know that in certain cultures, the man says something and the woman has to follow, and that's not the case with us. Like, yeah, she listens to what I have to say, but it's more so like a discussion, not like I'm doing A, B, C, and D. But if I did say we're doing A, B, C, and D, she would still respect that, but she would ask questions, which is good. Whereas some other cultures, they don't ask questions. It's more like, okay, we doing
Do
this,
what I
cool.
say and let's go.
Yeah, and that's not. I don't think that's a healthy relationship. And so I knew with her, we would have a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, and now raising a healthy family.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's my spin. That's my approach.
Do we have questions?
I think. Okay, so from Zay, my guy, shout out to you. Shout out to the whites too for introducing us. We appreciate Jesse, Trayana. We love y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. But Isaiah's question is, are y'all worried about raising kids in today's society?
Most definitely.
Yes.
The answer is
Absolutely.
100% yes.
I think about my child growing up in this world every single day as the days go on.
It's
I'm
true.
just like, how can I keep her away from all this stuff? All these bad things. And it's like, you can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. I had this conversation with one of my coworkers the other day about being like, he asked me about Black Lives Matter, and I kind of told him like a general thing of like, I was like, well, for me being black, like Black Lives Matter means it's not giving the whole spiel on it. But then I was like, you got to realize like raising black people, like raising a black family is more difficult just because of the stuff that Black Lives Matter was protesting. Like, not saying like their protest was what made it harder, but I was like, just the things that was videoed, like, young black people getting killed. I was like, when I was growing up, like, we were getting harassed all the time by, the police. Like, when I first started learning how to drive with my mom, she was like, well, you got to be prepared, for you to be pulled over just because you're black.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch that we have to teach our child to be aware of,
Sure.
in the world. And you're just like, why can't we just be?
Why can't we just be?
Yeah, why can't we just be?
Yeah.
So that makes it way more difficult because we know the struggle of growing up in the world. So it's like, given that, it makes you question, should you bring a child into that, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
It does.
That's good.
Piggybacking on it, I think I would say, obviously we're all Christians, right? And so our main mission is to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
And Jesus transformed culture. And so I think that although we are like skeptical about raising our kid in this society, I think that we're gonna do our best, and I'm sure you guys are too. We're gonna do our best to make sure that she live a life that's honoring towards Jesus, and really wrestle with how to transform the stuff that's going on. So like
Mm.
the cyberbullying, the all of these different things. It's like, even twerking. Like I was so opposed to twerking. Obviously I did in high school and stuff, but as I started to grow,
if I recall,
AKA
weren't we
yeah,
the twerk king?
I used to call myself the
Wait a minute.
You know what I mean? But
the king of twerking.
yeah, I mean, but now that I'm older and I got a daughter, I'm like, like her doing those certain movements, especially like doing it with a guy, me thinking about that now is like, what am I teaching her? And it's like, I didn't know that like in Africa, like that's a big part of what we do, but I didn't necessarily see them doing it on each other. I think that's an American thing. And it turns the dancing into perversion. And so I feel like we have to kind of like really teach her and show her like what's acceptable and what's unacceptable, but not just say it, but actually explain why.
Yeah.
I feel like especially in American society, like there's a lot of demeaning things that we do as a people, and I'm talking specifically Black people. And that's I think that it's a discussion that needs to be had, but I feel like yeah, there's a lot of things that we do that I don't agree with, but there's a lot of great things that we have to offer as Black people.
It's a collective.
Yeah, that culture. Yeah, our culture is what it's what people want. It's what people want to see. It's what people want to try to assimilate into or appropriate.
Mhm.
And I feel like we have to, I think, do a better job of like saying, hey, look, like this is not a part of Black culture, but this is,
Mhm.
like really identifying that, because oftentimes people think that, like just using the N word or whatever it is, right? They think that these things are Black culture, and that's not necessarily the case,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
So yeah, that's my spin on it.
That's good stuff.
Okay.
That's my spin.
Okay, I see you. I see you.
All right, so our next one, our last question is no, this is not our last question, but we're talking about the sex before marriage. Sex before marriage. So, what do you guys think? Yeah, what do you guys think about? Surely, yeah. I mean, what do you guys think about? Should you have sex before you get married?
This is this is tough. The Christian answer is no. No, you shouldn't. But at the same time, we're not here to be phony, fake, or not authentic.
Yes.
We did not live that out.
And she's talking about all four of us, not just them.
Okay, yeah, all four of us. So we all participated in that way before marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, thinking at where I am now in life, I wish I hadn't. And that's why I say no, don't do it. Hold off, wait, because as long as you can. And I have friends who have, and I'm just like literally in awe of how beautiful that gift was on their wedding day.
Yes.
But I would say, no, don't do it. It's going to bring your emotions together in a way that you can't untangle them.
Mm-hmm. Soul ties, baby.
And soul ties, that's the term. But yeah, I think it hurts. Tell me what you guys think. I think it hurts more than it helps.
We got a lot to say, but Monte, I want you to go.
Here we go, buddy.
Trying to figure out how to answer this.
Yeah.
I'm definitely me. I go with the flow a little more than most people would.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the Christian thing is to say no, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, or for me, generally speaking, from a male's perspective, I think that is our emotional connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the emotional connection part is good. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that emotional connection that you get from that is good. But at the same time, is there times when I wish I would have waited? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, so I'm tangled between both of those. Like, I like how close we are,
Mm-hmm.
but then at the same time, I'm like, oh, maybe I wish I would have saved that for my wife.
Yeah.
Like, so I keep going. Like, I don't have a real, like, I'm literally between those two. Like, I wish I would have waited. At the same time, like, I do respect and like the emotional connection that we built through that. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm all mixed up.
It's good. No, it's good.
It's hard.
It's definitely
a hard
and
question.
I would say the Christian way. Like everybody
I know.
says, the Christian wait. And I say wait for the simple fact. I think for us, we were so young when we started. So for me, and Jermaine was my first and only, obviously.
And all.
So for me,
Thank you, Jermaine.
I'm sorry, my bad. My bad.
so I mean, for me, it was too much. Like it was happening too much. But no, I think like once you do that before marriage, I feel like it takes an effect on your relationship to the point where sometimes you can't differentiate.
Yeah.
Like, is this love or is this lust?
Say
Like,
it.
what is this? Like, what are
That's
we doing
good.
here? And a lot of time people get sex misconstrued with lust
Mm-hmm.
and think, oh, this the person that I'm gonna love forever. This person gonna love me forever, all because the sex is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And sometimes the sex literally is just overshadowing the bad things, the toxicity of the relationship.
That's true.
And I feel like in a lot of aspects of our relationship in the beginning when we were kids, it took a toll. The sex definitely took a toll on our relationship because at one point I feel like that was all our relationship was about.
Yeah.
Like we just every time I see, all right, you ready? You ready? Okay, drop the drawers. Like
Yeah,
you know, it
like,
was just like
crazy.
Okay,
Drop them
why is-
drawers. Wait a minute.
Always with the good line.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
what Kayla for you.
But no, seriously. And one thing I can say because Jermaine and I were both Christians, as we still are, we would be so convicted.
So
That's one thing about us. Like we would be like afterwards, like, dang, you feel bad? Yeah, I feel bad too. Like it would just be like, what are we doing? So we even had a period before marriage. We were like, no,
Same.
like we're gonna cut. It was hard.
Yeah.
We split
Same.
up. We what's the choice? However, like we were like, if we really want this to work, if we really want to know if this is true love and not just lust, we can go and sacrifice for each other in our marriage
Yeah.
and go cold turkey of it. And that's what we did and realized obviously that it was love. I love mommy. But no, yeah, I would definitely say you guys, if you can wait as long as you can. I'm not here to tell nobody what to do. I'm just recommending. If you can wait, you should wait. Save yourself, ladies.
And gentlemen.
And
I said, and gentlemen.
And men.
Yeah.
And men.
Yeah.
Because once it's gone, you cannot get it back. So
True.
yeah, that's my take, I guess.
That was a good take.
Yeah. Good job there. Yeah. All right. So
Bring us a word.
Right.
I don't mean to
Y'all know
be
Jermaine
preachy.
gonna bring it in.
You
Y'all
know what I
know
mean?
Jermaine gonna bring it in.
I don't mean to be preachy, you know what I mean? But I think that it genuinely starts with the deception thinking that sex was not God's idea from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think that once I heard that from Pastor Michael Todd, shout out to you, I think it really helped put things into perspective. So like I feel like if I was educated on sex, not like you put it in there, but more so like this is actually God's idea. Like a marriage is actually blessed when you have sex, not through the paperwork, not through nothing else like that. It's actually when the hymen is broken because then it becomes a blood thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if I would have had that perspective back then and somebody would have educated me, then I think that I would have tried to wait. But then it also is tied to trauma. It's like, my personal story, like about like, going through molestation as a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, I overindulged in sex because I had a misconstrued idea of what it meant to love somebody, right?
And porn doesn't help with that, right?
And
Like,
porn
when
is
you're
not.
young.
No, heck no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that so I think that, and then I also think like just like logically, like yeah, sex feel good, but cooties is a real thing. Like cooties is a real thing. Like you can really get
Sick.
a sexually transmitted disease that's not curable,
Mhm.
right? And so I know that we want to test a product and things like that, but it's like we really have to consider like every avenue. Like what are the real possibilities here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that could be a deterrent, but that has to be strong enough. But I think the education piece, I think is probably the biggest. So yeah, I would say that's my spiel.
Yeah.
My spiel.
Yeah.
So we got 2 more questions for y'all. 2 more questions. So, okay. So Vontae and Christina. So this is an easy one. Funniest memory together. You know, chill.
Okay,
Chill.
good.
The next one's gonna be a little bit more serious. But yeah, Vontae and Christina, what's your funniest memory together as a couple?
I think there's too many.
There's I think again, one thing you have to understand when you are dating someone that was your high school sweetheart is they're your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
It
Yeah.
like they literally are your best friend. You're doing wild stuff together, like crazy, silly.
Growing up together.
Exactly,
Like, we literally
yeah.
grew up together.
So I'm just like funny. I mean, just today that I thought was funny is I literally was just washing my hands in this thing, and he pants me. like what? We're like 30 something years old, so I think that's super funny. We were
That's
dying
amazing.
of laughter.
It's
But
hilarious.
I think a funny moment. We have so many funny moments. I'll tell you about Devontae James on. There's so many good ones. Okay, so we are.
He
He is
has the first and last name.
This is the cover for the
Yes.
Instagram.
Oh,
Reels,
gosh,
just
okay.
let you know.
He is hanging out with friends, and I get a call from a friend saying you need to come get him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is he in
gosh,
jail?
that's
Is he like? Because again, when
Should've been.
you just gotta be ready, you gotta have bail money always ready, guys.
Mm.
It doesn't matter who you are, you need to have it ready. So I'm his friend, who I don't know. So he's calling off of Devontae's phone. So I'm like, oh man, something's bad. So he tells me where they're at, where they're located. I go, and I'm thinking something's seriously wrong. Like I'm gonna have to take him to the hospital, or he's like again in jail. I get him, and he is high off his mind on an edible
It wasn't edible.
or whatever.
I smoked like 8 times, and then I had a panic attack.
there you go.
Oh.
Okay, so I thought it was an edible. Mind you, I have no clue what's going on. So I'm getting him, trying to get him in the car. He is walking almost like his bones are glass. That's he's just like it was I'm dying of laughter and getting hot just thinking about it. But it was super funny in the moment. But obviously not for him because he was literally having another body experience. But the way he was hollering in this car as I'm driving 5 miles an hour to get home. You would think I was Fast and Furious in Tokyo. He was just like, you've got to slow down. Like he's yelling this. You've got to slow down. Oh my gosh, it hurts. Where am I? Like just hollering from the backseat. I'm going 5 miles an hour. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is
I know, me either.
this is wild. I get him inside and he just conks out. But like it doesn't even remember this all took place.
I do remember.
Oh, he did?
I like to say I don't.
Okay, he likes to tell me he doesn't, but
Doesn't
I was
relive those
dying
moments.
of laughter. But that's just some of the silly moments we have together. There's many.
I don't even know how to top that one. I would say today was very funny.
Today was
I
hilarious.
thought that was hilarious. She didn't know what hit her.
Oh my gosh, I'm crying.
Sorry.
He was hinting.
It was maybe, but we were dying of laughter. We couldn't even get to the sex part.
Dang, I don't know. There's way too many, James.
Today's was funny.
That was definitely hilarious. I think. Christina likes to tell jokes that she thinks is hilarious, and I laugh at her because they're not funny.
So there's that.
But those are like some of the funniest moments because she be like so invested in it. I'm just like.
That's so. I try my hardest.
She's definitely fully invested in it, and I mean I'm laughing with her and at her at the same time. So I think those are funny moments, which happens
Often, apparently.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean I've told her this beforehand. I was like, you're not funny, but I do laugh at you sometimes.
Laugh at you.
Not with you.
At you.
Go.
But you got.
So you want me to answer?
You can. I mean, why not?
Jermaine, don't let her answer.
Give us a good
I feel
one.
like me and Jermaine, we have the most random, funniest moments.
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I'm funny, so that up tops be having him weak.
Right.
Just be funny.
Jermaine.
But no, I think, like they said, we have a lot.
Yes.
But I think something that stands out is Jermaine and I love like serenading each other in the car. Like we just think it's the funniest thing. So sometimes Jermaine will sing, and I have the video. If I ever want to see it, just let me know. But no, I have a video of Jermaine singing, right? I can't even remember what song he was singing, y'all. He was singing it hard. But then he was so motivated because he thought one of the words was the next word that it wasn't. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because if y'all could have seen how serious he was, like he just knew he was killing it. Just to be that motivated. It was just like, what? And I was just like,
Oh no, I'm sorry for you.
and we both just start rolling because he knew he was wrong. So we be having them type of moments all the time, but I don't know. We always have funny moments as well, so I can't even really think of too many like big ones. But that for sure is like a memory that lives in my head.
Saved in memory and on phone.
What you got?
So for me, I would say definitely funny moments consistently throughout the last couple weeks. I don't know what I ate, y'all, but I've been blaming the farts on my daughter. And they smell real bad.
I don't know if that's funny. That's more
I said
surprising.
for Germany.
That's more
What?
surprising.
It's funny to she said funny memory for me, so
Anyway,
that's my funny memory. All right, we got one more. Last question.
all right, we got.
The last question is gonna be: do you think that the man, has to propose? So, do you think that the man has to propose, or could a woman propose and it's just as acceptable? And this one is really for the lady. I mean, Vontae, you can answer all you want, but I want to hear what they got to say.
This is an interesting question.
What you got to say?
Do I think a lady can propose? Yes, absolutely. I just think the answer is yes. Can a lady propose? Yes, I think she can. I think it should be honored with the same like level of like seriousness and emotional like impact as a man proposing.
Mhm.
I think it's just I think society wise we would want to see the man because the man's the provider.
Mhm.
But I think we've got to keep in mind we're in 2022 and both not almost, but two income households are normal. So there are two providers in any given household now. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got
For
a
me,
sugar mama.
he constantly talks about wanting a sugar mama.
You already are.
And I am. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think a woman can, and I think it should be honored, just like a man's proposal. I don't know. Hit me with the
Ooh,
sis has something
we
different.
got it.
I don't know. I'm
We
with
got a
Christina as
conflict.
far at the end of the day, a woman can do whatever she pleases
Yeah.
to do. Like if she wants to get on a knee on the ground on the floor.
You said get on her knee? Oh, you said get on the knee. My bad.
Already, where are we
Yeah,
at?
no, my
What's
bad.
happening?
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, if a woman wants to get on the dirty ground and get on her knees and propose to a man, I don't know, just something about that for me. Like
Clearly, it's very different for you.
it's
Yeah.
just something about a woman getting on her knee in front of a man standing up and like
So the image itself.
it's just something about that image for me. Me personally. It's hard. No, it's hard. I was never getting on my knee. Not yesterday, not today, not never. But I don't know, I just feel like when a man find it the wife, he finds it's a good thing. I don't feel like it's a woman's role to propose. I really don't. I don't feel like and thinking of the men and women's maturity levels. I feel like when a man is not really ready, you should really listen that they're not ready. Whether you move on or whether you wait for him to be ready.
Yeah.
You should really listen if he says that he's not ready. For the simple fact I've seen and witnessed couples that had that situation and the woman either rushed the guy or whatever the case may be, and it ended up becoming turmoil in the relationship and the marriage because the woman was pressuring the guy to be ready. So I don't know. I'm a little different, Christina, on this one, girl. I don't know. I'm a little different.
I completely agree with you. I don't think the woman should propose in an effort to
Get married
speed up. Yeah, like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like in a healthy, mature relationship where both parties have already talked about like this is our heart, this is what we're after, this is where we're going. I think it's fine. But if you're in a relationship with someone who is not in the same place, you should not just And that's for a man too. Like if you're in a relationship and the woman's like, no, I don't want to get married, you getting a ring and proposing to get married is not going to help it either, vice
Not
versa.
at all.
So yeah, no, like no one should be proposing to anyone. I want to make that clear, unless the conversation's been had and
Right.
it's a serious one. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know.
You want to add to that?
No, I was going to take that one and go. But no, I agree. I mean, yeah, both parties, but they definitely have to be ready. And I mean, I guess scientifically they say women mature a lot faster. So for a woman to propose, it might not be the right timing. You know what I'm saying? Like he may be going through some things and is like, she's like, "Oh, will you marry me?" He's like, "What the hell no?"
Yeah.
And then you have that embarrassing moment, you know.
Yeah.
So I would kind of keep it on the male shoulders. I mean, I know we're getting
This world now is just
this world's
all over the
getting to. I mean, women can do whatever they want. Men can do what they want.
exactly.
Like, there's no real not one sex could be obligated to that nowadays, or even in the past. But generally and culturally, or not even culturally, but worldly speaking, it's been a male-dominated thing.
Okay. All right. Well, we just want to say thank y'all. So you want me to?
Oh,
There it
so you're not
was.
gonna answer?
You want me to answer? All
I
right.
want to hear your
Anybody get
perspective.
Skip right over.
You don't gotta do a whole sermon, but I want to hear.
No, that's not gonna be a sermon. So mine's short and sweet. I think the answer is no. A woman should not propose because during our premarital counseling session, the pastor taught us that when you're marrying a woman, you need to think that you're marrying up, so that anytime you guys come into conflict, you realize that she's a trophy. So if you're a man and a woman is proposing to you, then you're not going to see her as that trophy that you married up. You're going to look at her as the same or inferior.
Interesting.
Very interesting take. But I'll accept it. I'm going with Jermaine on this one. I like his answer.
So yeah, that's
If you
our
propose to me,
opinion.
I'm telling you no.
You would never. Let's be realistic.
First
But-
off, I would never. Look,
If
if you ain't know me, you ain't gonna ever get. And I'm moving on. Because why are we taking so long for you to propose?
Well, James family, we appreciate y'all so much.
We love you.
Yes,
Thanks. Yeah, we love y'all, man. Thanks for taking the drive out.
They
To
some
our
real ones.
to our subscribers, followers, thank y'all so much
Viewers.
for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. And Isaiah said, great job, much success to the podcast. Appreciate the discussion. We appreciate you too.
Thanks, Isaiah.
Until next time.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
y'all.
Bye.
Peace.
Tune in next week. Tune in next week.
It's just like, oh, yeah.